Great. So thanks so much for everyone for being here. I'm Sarah. I'm part of the Tuesdays Children team. I want to welcome all the families that are registered with Tuesdays Children. We're really honored that you guys have taken your afternoon to be with us today. Certainly want to applaud you for taking this time to celebrate yourself. Currently, the COVID-19 crisis has certainly put a strain on all of us, but we want you to know that we have seen you rise from amazing challenges and certainly have seen you on an amazing journey through resilience and strength. We want to remind you that we continue to walk with you and welcome you to be in touch if there's any personal support we can offer. Over the past 8 weeks, Tuesdays Children has offered over 25 programs. We're really excited to be adding more on a daily basis. Some of those programs include social and emotional advancement, creative arts, career development, and today we're going to be sharing with you tapping. Our team continues to evolve, and I'll have these offerings for you. We welcome any suggestions you have at any time, and certainly we will remind you that we're here for you always. It's my pleasure to welcome Alex Ortner. He is one of the co-owners of the Tapping Solution. He's a speaker, author, entrepreneur, marketing expert, and recently released the Tapping Solutions apps, which I'll tell you more about. His company, the Tapping Solutions LLC, has a mission to bring simple, effective, natural healing method known as the emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. Today's webinar is going to provide you an opportunity to learn more about tapping, to experience the techniques yourself, to have a Q&A period, and give you more information on how to access it yourself through their app. I want to thank Alex for being here today and for choosing Tuesdays Children. Thank you.
It is so good to be here. How are you, Sarah?
I'm great. Thanks, Alex. We're so happy to have you.
So I'll just jump right into it then. I'm excited to be here to be talking about tapping. I want to first say, thank you to you, Sarah, and to everybody at Tuesdays Children for the work that you do. I know that before today, I was actually looking at some of the different videos on the website, and I saw you in one of those videos, Sarah, and I could see the heart and the passion for the work that you do, like so many of you that are there, just that care about making a big impact in not only the families that you help, just people in the world. And so I really know that when we connected with Tuesdays Children, I was excited about being able to help with the technique that we have with tapping, because I can tell that you have the same passion that we do within our company and also within our foundation. So one of the things I'll mention, one of the reasons why I really wanted to connect with Tuesdays Children is that I live in Newtown, Connecticut. And after the Sandy Hook school shooting here in my hometown, which was only about a mile away from my house, we decided to start our Tapping Solution Foundation to help people dealing with trauma, with PTSD, with this technique known as tapping, because we'd already been doing work for years with tapping and had seen what a really big effect that it was having in helping people to overcome PTSD. And so I know that a lot of the people that we're working with and that we're helping with are very similar, that we have in common with Tuesdays Children. So so thank you everyone for coming on here, starting to see some of those comments popping in here. And so if you've never heard of tapping before, I'll go over what tapping exactly is. It might seem weird or strange to you at first. It is literally a technique where we are tapping on different meridian points of the body. And we're doing this in order to calm our brain and to calm our nervous system as well, so that we can actually feel better in any given moment and actually also rewire the way that our brain works and rewire the ways that we're triggered to different things. So if you've ever experienced trauma, which I know, the people here, a lot of you have experienced trauma, and I have in my life and with a lot of people that we've worked with, trauma creates a different type of reaction and trigger in our nervous system and in our brain. And what tapping actually does is it sends a calming signal to the amygdala of the brain, letting it know that it's okay, that it's safe, and actually allows us to not only feel calm in that moment, but to actually rewire the way our brains react. I really love the work that we do with veterans to help them to overcome PTSD themselves. And so we're going to talk today not only about not just using it for trauma work, but really for doing it for everyday things right now, because we're obviously all going through a lot right now with the pandemic, with COVID-19 going on, and we want to be able to have all the resources that we possibly can to be able to help us. And so I'll tell you just, I told you a little bit about our foundation. Our foundation was started by myself, my brother Nick, and my sister Jessica. We also have our business called The Tapping Solution, where we've been helping people with this technique known as tapping for about 13 years now. It's not a technique that we invented ourselves. We actually found it online when we were looking for solutions for ourselves. I know my brother was dealing with some health challenges back then and wanted to find something that he could use to improve his own life. And he found tapping, and immediately he saw how effective it was in making him feel better. And now for a very long time, tapping was just being passed around and continuing to reach more and more people, not because it had science or research behind it at that time, but because it worked. And that's one of the things we're going to do today is we're actually going to have a tapping experience, because like so many things in life, you don't really understand something until you experience it, right? You can never, just tell somebody about your experience and say, well, this is how it is, but they can't understand it unless they have that experience themselves. And so we're going to make sure to have an experience with tapping today so you can see what that is. And so for a very long time, tapping was just being passed around, through word of mouth. And it wasn't really until 5 to 10 years ago, really 5 years ago or so, that we really started to put a lot more energy into the research behind it. And the research is just, it is unbelievable. It is mind-boggling just how incredible it's been. The research has actually come out to be more powerful than we ever thought or imagined. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But so essentially what we want to really think about with tapping is, how do we use this technique not only to release any emotions we're feeling, but on a daily basis? And what is it actually doing? So if you think about our life right now, all of us are triggered and overwhelmed by all these changes that are happening right now because of COVID. I actually just finished before this doing a 45-minute online Facebook Live with our membership, talking about loneliness and talking about powerlessness, about how these different changes are bringing up different emotions for us. And so I want to make sure to check the comment. No, video is not on. You can just see me as far as I know. So yeah, just know that you can join. Your video is not on. It's just me presenting to all of you that are here today. And so in our life, as we're dealing with all these emotions of anxiety, of overwhelm on a regular basis, what we don't really realize is what's going on in our brain. So our brains were wired, thousands of years ago, that when we saw something like a tiger, moving in the tall grass, we saw that tall grass move, that in our brain, our amygdala would be triggered. Now, the amygdala is the fight, flight, or freeze response in the brain. It's what keeps us alive. Because when that tall grass moved in a way that we knew, that's something, we don't have time to just think about it clearly. We have to react immediately. And so what it does when that amygdala triggers is that blood flows away from the body, goes into the arms and legs, and we immediately react. It's not a thought process, which is more of the prefrontal cortex of the brain, the front of the brain. But what is a challenge is that nowadays, that amygdala is constantly being triggered. So when we get an email that upsets us, or we go on social media and we compare ourselves to others, or we have a traumatic experience in our life, or we are forced into a situation like we are now, where we feel disconnected from people and lonely and powerless, and we're scared about our health. We have all these different things come up on a daily basis. It's not that our amygdala is being triggered once and then we release it. Our amygdala is constantly being triggered. And this has a really big negative effect on us. Number one, it keeps us from being able to think clearly and make good decisions. So I mentioned the prefrontal cortex is the front part of the brain, and that part of the brain is responsible for thought. It's what allows you to think about, hey, if I make this decision, what's the future consequence going to be of that decision? It's our cognitive decision-making part of the brain. But when the amygdala is triggered, resources go away from that part of the brain and we go into this reactive state. And so we're not able to think as clearly. Also, during that time when the amygdala is triggered, as I mentioned, it's not a time where we need to worry about anything other than survival. So our immune system is suppressed. Our digestive system is depressed. Our reproductive system is depressed. All these health systems in our body are suppressed because it is not important to fight a cancer cell when there's a tiger. We have to run away from the tiger. But what the challenge is that when we are constantly in this fight or flight state on a regular basis, our immune system is regularly suppressed. It's one of the reasons why we have so many autoimmune issues today, why we have so many health challenges that are related to how our immune system actually responds, because when we are in this fight or flight state, when we are stressed and anxious and overwhelmed on a constant basis, then our immune system is suppressed. So when we can use a tool or a technique like tapping to actually send a calming signal to the amygdala, the brain, and let it know that it's safe and that it can calm down, it allows our immune system to come back online. It allows our immune system to react, to fight that cancer cell, to do all the regular processes of what it knows how to do on a regular basis, which is important right now. Obviously, as we deal with COVID, everyone wants to strengthen their immune system, and yet everyone is dealing with more stress and anxiety than ever before. And again, it also, when that amygdala is calmed, it allows us to make better decisions because our prefrontal cortex comes back online. Now, most people think, oh, well, I don't need to, I'm fine, you know, I can deal with stress, it's no big deal. But what most people don't realize is that if they were to lower that regular level of stress, they would be able to make better decisions, and their brain would work more effectively for them, and they'd be able to live a life that they want more easily. So that gives you a little bit of how the tapping works. Some of the science and research behind it, I'll give you some examples. You know, there was one research study that measured cortisol levels in the body. Now, cortisol is typically known as the stress hormone. Increased cortisol is related to weight gain. It's related to a whole bunch of different things. And so this one study split people into 3 different groups. One group where they did nothing, one group that did talk therapy, and one group that did tapping. So they measured the cortisol levels of all 3 groups, and then those 3 groups did those 3 different things: nothing, talk therapy, or tapping. And the results were astonishing. The group that did nothing, actually, I shouldn't say they did nothing. They actually were reading magazines. The study was done once without magazines, but the latest time that it was done, they were reading magazines, and their cortisol levels actually went up by 2%. And that was just reading magazines. And I assume if it was social media, it'd probably be that much worse. The group that did talk therapy or psychoeducation, their cortisol levels went down by 19% during that time. The group that did tapping, their cortisol levels went down by 43% during that time. So the tapping was more than twice as effective at lowering cortisol levels in the body. Right, so that gives you an idea of how it's actually affecting the hormones that we have in our body when we actually do this tapping technique. Another quick example is a study that was done on our brain and brain scans that had to do with food. I know that we're all struggling with food right now, right? When we're home, when we're stressed, when we're overwhelmed, we want to go to the fridge. We have all these food cravings. It's all we want to do, a lot of us, is go and eat. And so this study actually measured the brain. It actually did brain scans as people were looking at food. And so when they were looking at that food in the brain scan, while doing I think it was fMRI, they saw how the brain was lighting up. And then afterwards, one of the groups actually did tapping. I think it was over an 8-week period. And so they did tapping during that 8-week period. They did 1-hour sessions of 1 hour each week for 8 weeks. And at the end, they went back and they did the same thing. They went into the brain scan machine. They looked at the food that they've had cravings for, and the brain scan showed that the brain was no longer lighting up for that food craving. So tapping is showing, all the research is showing that it's actually changing the way the brain reacts. It's changing the hormones we have in our body. And more importantly for me, I mean, I share the science and research because I know a lot of people care about it. What I care about is how it makes me feel. I know that it lowers stress and anxiety. And I've worked with myself, my brother, my sister, our whole company. We've worked with literally hundreds of thousands of people, actually I say millions of people over the last 13 years. Our Tapping World Summits, which we do every year, we've had over 3 million people attend our online summits. We have the longest running online summit that there is. We've literally just run our 13th year of it. So, you know, that's to give you a little bit of the science and research behind it. And so, you know, I want to kind of address, I was looking at some of the questions of what we might want to talk about a little bit today is, you know, how is this coming up right now with COVID-19? And as I mentioned a minute ago, what people are feeling is a sense of isolation. They're feeling loneliness. They're feeling powerless. They're feeling a lot of anxiety around finances because obviously the economy has been hit really hard by this. A lot of job losses. So there's a lot of anxiety around that. And really what all this does is trigger that fight or flight response in the brain. Now the challenge is that has been triggered. That fight or flight response was made to be there for literal survival situations, right? But most of what it triggers right now is not survival. Right? A lot of times we might feel anxious and overwhelmed and feel so stressed out because we don't have the money we want or we've lost the money. But most of the time, we find a way to survive, right? We know that we live in a society where we're helping each other out and somebody will be able to help us to get food, or we have family that can help again, by and large, I know we're dealing with more homelessness and a lot of other challenges as well, but most situations are not actual life or death, but the brain does not know that. And so what we have to do is to let the brain know that these situations that feel like they're overwhelming, the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm, are not actually life or death, so that we can react differently, right? So that we can be calm in the middle of the storm that is our life now and at all times. Even before this, we had higher levels of stress and anxiety and overwhelm than ever before. We had higher levels of PTSD, of suicide rates amongst veterans, amongst teenagers, amongst all sorts of different populations. And so right now we're just kind of, all those different emotions have been highlighted in a much bigger way. And so it's more important now than ever to actually be using a technique or using different practices to actually balance ourselves emotionally and to feel calmer. And really, when in terms of building resiliency for the situations like this, because this is a really tough situation, but I'm sure it's not the first time you've had to deal with situations like this, and it won't be the last time where you have to feel powerlessness or trauma or have really tough situations. So what we can do with tapping, when we can rewire our brain and our nervous system, we can regulate our nervous system so we can build resiliency, so we become stronger and stronger after in being able to deal with these situations and move forward. So just looking at here, please direct your questions to the Q&A box and also answer. Okay, just checking there. Thank you, Jillian, for posting that. If anybody has questions, just let me know at any time. I can't see you all. I can't see anybody here on the video, but hopefully, this is helpful. And when we get to the tapping, you'll get to have an experience of exactly how this can help you. So, this is used a lot. So another big area where it's being used a lot right now, tapping, is with our kids. I can tell you, I've got 3 kids. I've got a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 11-year-old, and we are homeschooling. And it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge not only for us as adults to try to work while our kids are home, but also to manage their mental and emotional states right now. A lot of people are reaching out to us and saying, my kids are so stressed out. They're so overwhelmed. They're so anxious. They're struggling with distance learning. They don't know how to do it. They're struggling with missing their friends. They're struggling with loneliness and these same feelings themselves and feeling scared and overwhelmed. And so tapping can be really powerful for them. We actually have it in our Tapping Solution app. I haven't mentioned it yet today, but one of the reasons we partnered with Tuesday's Children is to be able to provide the resource of our app free of charge for 6 months to anybody watching this presentation right now. And it's not, you don't have to enter in a credit card or do anything like that. It's literally just 6 months free. All you have to do, if you want to do that, maybe we can put the link in there, is go to thetappingsolution.com/Tuesday's Children, all together, Tuesday's Children. So thetappingsolution.com/Tuesday's Children. And you literally just put in your name, email, and email, and the email you sign up in the app, and you'll get 6 months unlocked for you for free. And we've been doing this with a lot of people. We've been giving 6 months for free to first responders, to teachers, and to mental health workers. And as I know right now, we have, I believe, over 12,000 people out of those 3 categories that have gotten 6 months of free access to our app, because we want to be able to help everybody who's dealing with stress and anxiety during this time. I tell you that the active monthly users that we have in our app doubled over a 2-month period because of this going on. And it wasn't that we got twice as many people. Instead, everyone realized they were so anxious and overwhelmed, and they showed up to use the app that they had downloaded from us. We've had over 2 million plays of our tapping meditations, really powerful. So make sure to check that out and make sure to get access to that for free. So there's also resources in there for kids. If you have, if your kids are struggling to sleep right now, use some of those free tapping meditations for sleeping. If you're struggling to get them to focus, you can use those resources as well. Lots of different resources in there where you can use the tapping and to allow yourself to be calm, to sleep better at night, to be focused during the day, all sorts of different things you can do in there. So let me see here, what else? Any other resources? So again, if you have any questions here, let me know. I'm not even sure, I can't see how many people are on here, so I can't see how many questions we have, but please let me know what different questions you might have here. Let me see if I can actually go down to Q&A. Oh, I do see the Q&A box now. Okay, great. So does tapping work similarly to EMDR therapy? So yeah, a lot of people ask that question. Is it like EMDR, which is, I forget exactly what it stands for, but it's eye movement desensitization. I forget exactly what it is. I always forget what it is. But yeah, it is a similar type of thing in terms of that, in terms of how it works with EMDR. But okay, so we'll work on all those answers later in the Q&A part. Thank you, Jillian, for that reminder. So yeah, but yeah, it is like EMDR, but it's a different type of technique than what EMDR is. So what I'd love to do is to actually go into doing some different tapping, and I've left open, I actually got through some of the different content on exactly how it works, so we can jump into learning exactly how to do the tapping and actually having an experience of it. So as I mentioned, so tapping is a technique where we literally tap on different points of the body while saying certain statements. And what this does is it sends a calming signal to that amygdala of the brain, letting us know that it's safe and that we can relax. Now, one of the questions that I get asked frequently is, does it matter what the points are? Yes, science and research does show that the points do matter. We've done research studies that go, well, what if I just do it on random points? And while doing this, does it still work? No, it doesn't work. It doesn't have the same results as it does on tapping on these specific points. And I'll teach you exactly what those points are. So the first point, we'll go through the different points, is the side of the hand. It's called the karate chop point. And you just tap on it lightly. You can use all 4 fingers here. You can use 2 fingers, really whatever you want to do there. And then the other points are, and this is where we'll do the setup statement, which I'll explain in just a minute. The other points are the eyebrow point, the side of the eye, and you can do it with one hand, with both hands, whatever you feel comfortable with. So the eyebrow point, then the side of the eye, then under the eye, then under the nose, then under the mouth, the chin, then the collarbone point, which is if you find the collarbone, you go down an inch and out an inch, tap around there. You can use all your fingers and kind of go around there. It'll make it really easy to not miss it. The next point is the under the arm point. This is about the bra line for women, about 6 inches under the armpit for men. You can tap there. You can do both if you can do it. You can do it like this, whatever way is comfortable. Typically, people just do one side when they're doing the underarm point. And then there's the top of the head. Right, this is the top of the head. And when we teach children, we got some really fun names for children to do it. I got my kids book, which you can actually see right there, which we give out in schools all over the country through my foundation, through the Tapping Solutions Foundation. But we've got different points for the names, which are the eagle eye point. This is the eagle eye point. This is the lion cry point, the dragon fire points. There's all these fun animal points that we use for teaching kids as well, although I know adults love to learn those points as well. It makes it a little bit easier to learn. So we go through all the tapping of those different points, but what we're going to do is on the karate chop point, what we do here is we do the setup statement. And the setup statement goes like this: even though, and then you fill in the blank with whatever you're feeling, whatever emotion you're feeling, whether it's stress or anxiety, whatever you're feeling, you fill in the blank there. So even though blank, and then you'll use the rest of the statement, which originally when tapping was first created was, I love and accept myself anyway. Now that statement is not always easy for everyone to say, so you don't have to say I love and accept myself anyway. You can say, I acknowledge how I'm feeling, or I acknowledge and accept how I'm feeling. Because a lot of times it's our inability to actually acknowledge or accept what we're feeling that keeps us stuck there, right? It's not that, it's in allowing ourselves to accept these feelings, to acknowledge them and to release them that allows us to move on. There's a great, we interviewed Louise Hay from Hay House Publishing years ago, before she passed away. She was a good friend of ours. And we asked her once and said, well, why do you focus on the negative here? Because she was known as the queen of affirmations, of positive thinking, of positive affirmations. And we asked her, well, why do you think we focus on the negative? And she said, well, if you want to clean a house, you have to see the dirt, right? Which was just an amazing, amazing way to look at things. That if you want to clean up aspects of your life, or if you want to clean up the emotions that you're feeling, you have to actually look at them and you have to actually acknowledge them. So that's what we're doing with the tapping, is just looking at those things for a small period of time, to acknowledge them, to do the tapping, to release them so we can move forward and actually choose the way we want to move forward and also how we want to feel. So again, we're on the karate chop point, we go, even though you fill in the blank, I acknowledge and accept what I'm feeling. And then what we do is we go through the 8 other points, and if you're just doing it on your own, you could use a reminder phrase like this anxiety, all this anxiety, all this anxiety. You could just use a reminder phrase. When we do tapping together, when you do it with a practitioner or professional, or if you do it with the Tapping Solution app, we'll guide you in saying different things that can help you to kind of really connect with the emotion that you're feeling, to release those things. And also, as we start, whenever we start to do the tapping, what we do is we first calibrate. So we'll, hospitals do this when they calibrate pain levels, same kind of calibration scale on a level of 0 to 10. So we'll want to connect with ourselves. So let's say right now, if we go ahead and take a deep breath in all together and breathe out. if we just kind of connect with the stress and anxiety that we're feeling right now with everything going on. And for you, think about in your own life, what's been stressing you out the most? What's been bothering you the most? Is it that you're feeling worried about money? Is it that you're worried about your parents or, an older generation or your friends and them dealing with health? Are you dealing with grief or loss because of someone you've lost? What is that emotion that you're feeling right now that is the strongest for you, that is the most overwhelming? Just notice what that is for you. And then you want to go ahead and check in on that on a level of 0 to 10. So 10 would be that it's as high as can be. So if you think about anxiety, I would call a 10 an anxiety attack. For anybody who's ever had an anxiety attack, I know I've had a couple in my life. It's really, really overwhelming. And it's hard to, if somebody came up to talk to you and said, oh, just calm down, everything will be okay. When you're at that level 10, you can't process that, right? At that level 10, your amygdala is firing so strongly that you can't think clearly and make a decision and go, well, maybe I can look at this different. You're so overwhelmed by that emotion that you're feeling in that moment. And so that would be a level 10. 0 would be like, no, I'm not feeling any anxiety or overwhelmed at all. I might as well be sitting on a beach in the Bahamas right now because I'm so relaxed. And so we do that to measure and to calibrate exactly how strong those emotions are for us in that given moment, because then that gives us feedback to know afterwards. What happens a lot, what's happening is we'll tap and somebody, will tap on anger or sadness or loneliness or powerlessness. And then when we're done, they're like, they feel a shift and they go, oh, well, that wasn't really a big deal. And then you go, well, but wait a second. It was. A minute ago, you were saying how angry you were or how overwhelmed you were. So we measure so we can actually see what's shifting for us. And we also measure to know, well, did it go up for some reason? Sometimes, and it's rare because most of the time when we tap, it'll go down. But sometimes it might go up a point or two. And that's really just giving us feedback to go, you know what? I was anxious, and as I was doing the tapping, I remembered something else and it really triggered me and it overwhelmed me. So it spiked up, and that's the thing I need to go and tap on. So it lets us know what we need to focus on in order to actually do the tapping and have that release to feel better, right? So we measure on that scale. And then when we're done with the tapping, we go ahead and measure again. It just gives us feedback to know exactly, what we're doing or how we're doing. So let's go ahead and we're going to, jump into the tapping so we can have an experience of it. So again, tune into what you're feeling right now. Tune into what's going on in your life. What is the most upsetting or overwhelming, or what is the emotion that's strongest for you right now? Pick what's strongest for you. It might be anxiety, that you're really worried about the future and you're worried about, money, or you're worried about what's going to happen with your job or your business, and just notice what that is. Or maybe you're feeling loneliness or you're feeling powerless. Just notice what emotion it is for you right now and calibrate that on that level of 0 to 10. And if you're willing to share, let me know in the comments, in the chat. Let me know exactly what you're feeling. If you're feeling anxiety or overwhelm or powerlessness, let me know in the chat. And you can let me know, 0 to 10 if it's an 8 or a 9, or maybe it's a 2, or you can just say, oh, it's anxiety or whatever it might be. And just notice what that is for you. And we're going to do some tapping together just on a little bit of all those things, right? To kind of tap on all the common emotions and experiences that we're feeling right now. And if at any point I say some language that doesn't feel right for you, always feel free to switch it, right? If I say something like, oh, I feel really lonely right now, and you don't feel lonely, you don't have to say that. Although saying it will not make it come true, so don't worry about that. You can repeat it if you want to, but you can always change the language for whatever feels right for you. So again, let's go ahead and take another deep breath in and breathe out. And let's start tapping on the karate chop point. So I'm going to say a statement, and then you just repeat after me and say it to yourself, or you can say it in your mind as well. But just allow yourself to actually go through this process so you can have an experience of it. So we're going to tap on the karate chop point and repeat after me. Even though I'm feeling all this anxiety and overwhelm, I acknowledge and accept what I'm feeling right now. Even though I'm feeling so anxious about the future, because this COVID-19 pandemic has changed so much, I acknowledge and accept what I'm feeling right now. And again, one more time, we do this 3 times on the karate chop point. Even though I'm feeling all this anxiety and overwhelm, because I feel so powerless right now, I choose to relax and breathe into my body. And then we'll go to the eyebrow point. All this anxiety. And again, repeating after me. Remember, you can do it with one hand or both hands. We'll go to the side of the eye. All this overwhelm. Under the eye, I just don't know what's going to happen next. Under the nose, I feel so powerless. Chin point, all of this anxiety in my body. Collarbone point, all this stress and anxiety in my body. Under the arm, I want to find a way to release it. Top of the head, all this overwhelm in my body. And I want you to actually fill in this blank for me with what's going on for you. So all this anxiety about, and fill in the blank. Side of the eye, again, filling in the blank. I'm so worried about. Under the eye, again, filling in the blank. All this anxiety about. Because we want to make sure that we're tuning into what's really going on for us. Under the nose, I'm so overwhelmed with. Chin point, I'm acknowledging all that's going on in my life. Collarbone point, all this fear in my body. Under the arm, all this overwhelm in my brain. Top of the head, this has been a really challenging time. Eyebrow point, but I choose to breathe into my body. Side of the eye, and take it one day at a time. Under the eye, what if I could bring safety into my body? Under the nose, what if I could feel safe even in this situation? Chin point, I know I can find my way forward. Collarbone point, I know I can find my way forward. Under the arm, even though I'm so frustrated with what's going on. Top of the head, even though I feel so disconnected from others. Eyebrow point, even though I feel numb with everything going on. Side of the eye, because I just want to connect with more people. Side of the eye, under the eye, I just want to give my loved ones a hug. Under the nose, this situation is so challenging. Chin point, and I feel so overwhelmed. Collarbone point, but I choose to breathe into my body now. Under the arm, and trust that everything will be okay. Top of the head, I can't control everything going on. Eyebrow point, but I can allow my body to feel safe. side of the eye, and my brain to relax. Under the eye, we'll find our way forward together. Under the nose, even though there's so much uncertainty. Chin point, I choose to be calm within myself. Collarbone point, I choose to breathe and relax in this moment. Under the arm, knowing that all will be well. Top of the head, knowing that I am safe in this moment. And let's stop there and take a deep breath in and breathe out. And just connect with your body. Just sit with your body for a moment and notice what you're feeling. What changed or what shifted for you as you were doing the tapping. And just allow, a lot of times people say they feel a tinglingness feeling in their body, and just notice what you feel in your body. What's your breathing like? Is your breathing slower? Do you feel calmer? And what we want to do is we want to calibrate again. So whatever that intense emotion was for you that you were tapping on, that you were focusing on, if that was anxiety or loneliness or stress, just connect with that again and measure on that scale of 0 to 10 to see how that has shifted for you. So maybe you were at a 9 before and now you moved down to a 6 or a 5. Or maybe you were at a 9 and you moved to an 8. It's not about necessarily, there's no right or wrong answer here. What those numbers do is they give us feedback on what's going on. They give us feedback on what's different, on how things have shifted. And a lot of times we get feedback and things will go down and new things will come up. So we'll have thoughts to come up. Because as I mentioned, as we do the tapping, as we calm the amygdala, our brain comes back online. So all of a sudden we become more resourceful and we come up with different ideas, or we come up with different ways to look at things. Whereas we might have been totally stressed or overwhelmed about a particular situation, we might go, oh, you know what? I hadn't looked at it like this or thought about it like this, but I guess I've got help from family members, and I guess the situation is temporary, and I know it could go longer, but we don't know. But maybe I shouldn't worry or stress about it too much because it's not helping me or benefiting me. So we can look at things in a different way when our brain comes back online, and it can allow us to regulate our nervous system. Right? So one of the big things, important things, not only for somebody with trauma or who has dealt with grief or big traumatic experiences, but for all of us, is to be able to regulate our nervous system. Because all these experiences in life create triggers for us where we react differently to different things, right? And what we want to be able to do is to regulate our nervous system so that when things come at us in life, when things happen, we don't react to them. We're not triggered by them, right? Who can you think of in your life that triggers you right now? Whether it's a coworker or a boss or a family member or or a politician on either side that you're on, a lot of emotion there. But who can you think of that when you see them or you hear them or you talk to them or you see them on the news that triggers you like that, right? That just triggers you. So what we want to be able to do is to really take our control back, because those triggers are outside of our control. And what we want to do is we want to regulate our nervous system and change those triggers so we can feel calm and so we can react differently to what's going on. That's what we want to be able to do, is to actually change our nervous system and make things different so that we are in control and we do not feel powerless, right? Because a situation like this, like what's going on with the pandemic, is not always necessarily just about the pandemic. Because if you, before this, you had built resiliency to what's going on, to know that life kind of changes, that things can be thrown at you, you might be dealing with this easier than if you were already overwhelmed or stressed out. I know I've read articles about how, mothers were already a generation right now that were so overwhelmed and stressed with managing work and kids and everything going on in life. And now you throw this on top of it and it makes it that much more difficult. And so what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to regulate our nervous system so that we can react differently to different things. So we can actually set different boundaries for ourselves on how we balance our life. I know that there's a lot of different things that can come out of this, of what's going on right now. There can be positive meanings of what's going on, or there can be negative meanings. We can look at a situation like this and go, well, this just shows that the world is awful and that things are going to hell in a handbasket, and we just have to, be tough. Or we can look at this and go, what's the meaning for this? Maybe this is showing us that we need to, connect more, that we realize that the way we were living wasn't the right way. We need to find different ways to balance our work and our personal life. Or just, again, life is not about what happens, it's about the meaning that we give to it. It's about the meaning that we give to it mentally that forms our beliefs. And it's also about the meaning that our nervous system gives it, right? When we have a traumatic experience, when it's really scary and fearful, our body, our nervous system puts that in so that to keep us safe, so that when there's another trigger like that again, we can react and fight or flight or freeze, right? But what we want to do is to let our brain know that certain things are not a fight or flight, or that they're not a survival mode situation. We want to let our brain know that when we get an email from our boss and we don't like it, that it's not actually a survival situation, but that maybe our boss is just not happy with us or whatever it might be, and that's just a part of life, right? We want to change these triggers so that they do not feel like a fight or flight situation. When we do this tapping, we allow ourselves to do that, and we allow ourselves to actually calm our amygdala in our brain, and we allow ourselves to actually regulate our nervous system so that we can react differently in the future to different situations. So hopefully some of that tapping was helpful for you, and allowed you to get really a little bit of a feel for it. And I recommend, even if you didn't have a huge experience to it right now, because you're kind of like, hey, what is this tapping thing? Go check out the Tapping Solution app. It's normally, normally it's free. There's a whole bunch of free stuff in the app, and there's a paid version. For you, because you're seeing this, the whole app is unlocked and free for you. All you have to do is go to that website, thetappingsolution.com/Tuesdays Children, and enter in name and email that you signed up for the app for, and it'll be unlocked for you for 6 months. It's really just our gift to you. We really appreciate, all of the people in the Tuesdays Children community, and we want to be able to help you all out. We love the work that Tuesdays Children is doing in the world, because it is very much in line with what we're doing. Eileen said, fantastic. Thank you so very much. I'm so glad you enjoyed that. Again, let me know if you have any questions there, and we'll go into Q&A in just a minute. But, remember to use these different techniques like tapping to balance yourself, to create balance. I'll tell you, just in terms of, thinking, well, when do you do a technique like tapping, right? So for me, there's a couple of ways that you can do it. Number one is when you are triggered, when you are, when your kids trigger you. I know my wife this morning, my two boys finished school very early. My oldest gets up at like 6 a.m. and is done with the school by 9 a.m. I find I'm very lucky with how my kids are dealing with this. I know I've done a lot of tapping myself, and my kids feel very safe in their environment, so they're not really having too much of a reaction to what's going on. But my two oldest boys, and my youngest is a girl, they get on and they do their work very quickly. My daughter does not. She gets up a little later. She's younger. She's in first grade. And so she gets frustrated that her brothers are done first, and she wants to go and play. And so my wife was dealing with all that and being triggered by that. And so we stopped, we tapped on it, we allowed ourselves to relax. And then she then went ahead and did a tapping meditation as well, to tap on some of the loneliness that she's been feeling of missing her friends. She's been really frustrated because the two boys play together all the time. They're 9 and 11, and they have similar interests. My daughter has different interests, not only because she's a girl and they're boys, but my boys are into sports and she's into dance and horseback riding and different things. And so she was frustrated. And so we use the tapping to actually allow ourselves to calm down and to not be triggered by those different experiences that we have going on. So there's lots of different ways that we can use this, both for our kids, for ourselves as parents, if you're a parent, and just with everything going on, if you're feeling lonely or disconnected, with whatever emotions you're dealing with right now. So we're going to go ahead and go into some Q&A. I'm going to go here and take a look. I know Jillian mentioned any questions, please use that chat or the Q&A. Jillian said, I have a question, Alex. When you are saying the affirmations, does it have a different effect whether you speak it out loud or in your own head? I can't tell you scientifically, because I don't know research studies that have done the difference in the two. I can tell you that for me, there's a power in actually vocalizing something. Sometimes when you're doing the tapping, and especially if you are working with a practitioner, or if you are just following along in a tapping meditation, that all of a sudden you say something and you go, I didn't really realize that was so strong for me, right? Before I came onto this, I did a Facebook Live with our Tapping Insiders Club group, and one of the people said in there, you know what, when you talked about feeling rejection. So we're talking about loneliness. When you talked about feeling rejection in childhood, that really, I didn't realize how strong that was for me. So a lot of times when you say something out loud, you can feel that emotional trigger, and it lets you know how strong that emotion is for you. So I think there definitely is a power to saying it out loud, but you can't always do that, right? If you're around other people, you might want to say it in your head. Also, you don't have to do all the points if you're around other people. You might just do one point here. A lot of people do this point here, and they just do it under the table so nobody can see if they're in a meeting or something like that. But there definitely is power in saying things out loud, in that it allows you to acknowledge the feeling that you're feeling right there. So great question there, Jillian. Let's see if we can go into those Q&A questions. So I'm going to go here. Maureen, my mind could not focus on the anxiety, replaced by the tapping and affirmations. Let's see here. It looks like some of these are comments. Let's see here. Let's see if maybe we can find some more comments, or Jillian, you can let me know what those questions are. So Kathy said, how many times do you need to go through the sequence? So great. Oh, and actually I'm going to go back to when we were using it. I got a little off track there. So how many times do you need to go through the sequence? Really until you're done. I know that, for example, with my kids, I tap with my kids every night. I don't like to, sometimes I actually use our app where there's about a 5 to 10 minute tapping meditation for kids to actually relax, but I know they like the habit of doing it every night. And if I know they're in a great place and they don't really have anything to tap on, I'll just do one round for them just to get them to calm down and to kind of slow down their body. So it really depends on what you have going on. As you saw when we did it together, I went through a whole bunch of rounds. And it's definitely easier. For a long time, with the work we were doing, we were teaching people how to do tapping on themselves. And we realized that a lot of times people struggle with knowing what to say or how often to do it or those kinds of things. And that's when we created our Tapping Solution app and our Tapping Insiders Club, which is a different thing, because then this allows you to not have to worry about how much you do it or what you say. You can just follow along with it. So if you go in the Tapping Solution app, where you have 6 months of free access, you can just pick a topic that you want to tap on, you press play, and you literally follow along, and then right there on the screen, it shows you exactly what points to tap on. So you just go through it, and to give you an example on anxiety, so in our Tapping Solution app, I believe we've had somewhere around 300,000 people play our tapping meditation. So our app is a combination of meditation and tapping. We've had about 300,000 people play the anxiety meditation. And I can tell you that meditation, that tapping meditation, reduces anxiety on average by about 41% in 9 minutes, right? Because just like what we did in the beginning of the tapping meditation, you measure yourself on that 0 to 10 scale, and then you measure yourself at the end. So you can actually just measure yourself, follow along, and then measure yourself again. It all tracks it for you. Super, super easy to be able to do that and follow along. So I was mentioning, so how often do you tap? So for me, I have a routine, and then I have that I tap when things come up. When things come up that I'm anxious or stressed or triggered by something, I've wired it in my body now to go, I'm triggered by something, let me stop and do the tapping, acknowledge it, and release it. I also tap every single morning and every single evening. I actually have, well, you can't see it there. You see those right there? Those are all different planners. My planner is going to be released in about 3 months, but the planner is what takes you through my morning and evening process. And what I do every morning is I stop and I just acknowledge, well, what am I feeling right now? Because what happens a lot of times is we go through our day, we wake up upset or something triggers us in the morning, and we go through our whole day upset or angry or whatever it might be, and it just throws us off, and we end up having a crappy day because we were dealing with that emotion the whole day, right? So what I do is when I start the morning, I do my planner, and you can actually, I do it in my planner. This is my version before getting to that version. I'll actually stop and go, well, what am I actually feeling? Is it an emotion that I want to have if I'm anxious or upset? And what am I feeling? And I'll tap on that and I'll release it. And I'll actually also choose what I want to feel. Because a lot of times, what we want to do is, I'll give you a little more on this. So if we're feeling anxious or overwhelmed or angry at a level of like 5 to 10, we really want to focus on just getting that down. Once we get under that 5 level and you'll feel it in yourself, you can start to choose what you want to feel, what emotions you want to feel. So any given morning, if I'm, feeling anxious or stressed, which is a more common emotion for all of us to feel, especially as relates to work and things like that, I'll acknowledge those emotions and then choose what I want to have, what emotion I want to have. So I'll go in, I'll first do, I'm so anxious about what's going on, so much going on in my business, something like that. And then I'll go, I choose to be focused and energized today. I choose to bring energy into my day. Even though I'm so tired, I choose to bring energy into my day. So I not only tap to release the emotions that I don't want, but I tap in the emotions that I do want. Because when we can be conscious about the emotions that we have, it gives us the power to move in the direction that we want, because it is our emotions that fuel us every day, right? So if you go through your day with anger, that's going to be the emotion that fuels you. You're not going to get the best quality of a day that you want. But if you're fueled by love, by gratitude, by passion, those are the emotions that are going to allow you to actually create the life that you want and feel the way that you want. So I do that process in the morning, and then in the evening I do tapping before bed. Because, we're, especially right now with everything going on, it can be tough to get to sleep. There's a lot of insomnia. There was a lot of insomnia before COVID-19, but there's a lot of insomnia now because we get to bed, we're so stressed, we're so anxious, we're so overwhelmed. Our brain is trying to solve problems from the day, is trying to solve other problems to try and keep us safe. And so it's really important to be able to release the day, to be able to tap and let things go so we can actually get ourselves to sleep. Because that's not only important in just getting better quality sleep, but for our immune system, right? We want to be able to sleep well so we wake up the next day and can feel better or work better or be productive. So I have that routine of saying I tap every morning and I tap every evening. Just that alone, if you incorporated that into your life, would transform the experience that you have every day. And then using the tapping at different points when things come up to be able to react to those things. So all right, let me look at questions here. Jillian said, is tapping only for anxiety, stress, etc.? Can I use tapping for when I'm confused? Sure, you can use tapping on any, well, you can use tapping on any emotions that you're feeling. You can also use it on your belief system. So when we talk about limiting beliefs, right? Limiting beliefs around making more money or about our body and weight loss. We have a great book. I think it's that one right there, all those books there on weight loss and body confidence, right? So if we have beliefs about ourselves, about our body, that book was written by my sister, specifically for women. If as a woman, you have a belief, which women have a lot of pressure on themselves about their body. If you have beliefs about yourself that I'm not enough, and you hate your body and you hate exercising, all these beliefs that can hold you back from actually moving forward and taking better care of your body and taking better care of your health. So when we do the tap, we work on our emotions, we work on our belief systems that we have underlying them, and we work on our past experiences and our traumas. Right? So as I said, we do a lot of work with PTSD. That's really an example of just how well it works. But we work on our past experiences because all of us have traumas in our life, whether it's big T or little t traumas, as we like to call them. And, it might be that you went to speak up in front of a class as a kid and you're made fun of. So now you're afraid to speak up. Fear of speaking is the number one fear. As the joke goes, people would rather be in the casket than be giving the eulogy at a funeral, right? Because there's a bigger fear of actually talking in front of others. And so we can use it for all sorts of different things. Can you use tapping when you're confused? Yeah, you can tap to say, even though I'm so confused, and tap through that process. And you'll see, again, as you allow yourself to calm your brain down, to calm your amygdala down, that you become more resourceful, and all of a sudden that confusion might go away. A lot of times confusion can be leading to something else that we just haven't really realized or opened yet. So from Eileen, does it help to manage ADHD? Yes, it does. I don't know if I have it here. No, I don't think I have it here, but we have a book, The Tapping Solution for Parents and Kids, and we have a whole part in there about ADHD for kids. Of course, it applies to parents as well. So yes, you can absolutely, I don't want to say to manage ADHD, okay? So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a, always seek professional help when it comes to any kind of medication or any kind of big decisions like that in terms of managing something like ADHD. But can it support ADHD? Yes, absolutely. Right? Can absolutely help support with anything. Just like tapping doesn't cure cancer, it doesn't, get rid of autoimmune diseases, but it does help your body to improve the immune response, right? Because there's all sorts of research studies, and I'm sure you've heard it before, that our emotions impact our health. And the reason they do that is because when we are feeling all these negative emotions and stress and anxiety and overwhelm, that our immune system is suppressed, like I said before. So when you can release those things and allow your body's immune system to respond more properly, it can help support any kind of illness or health challenges that you're dealing with. And again, also with ADHD, with focus, with things like that, it can absolutely help to get you focused, right? So one of the tapping meditations that I have, I keep mentioning some of the kids stuff because I do the kids stuff within our work. And I have a tapping meditation in our app that is specifically for kids to do at the beginning of their school day when they're doing homeschooling right now, to help them to kind of calm their body down to be able to get focused. Because kids are, I've got high energy kids and they're running around, and when you want to try and get them focused, it can be a challenge. So when we do the tapping, it allows us to calm down, to focus, and to allow ourselves to do the things that we want to do. So yes, it was a great question that can help you to manage ADHD, to help support ADHD. Someone else asked, my son would like to know if tapping works on dogs. Great question. So I have a dog. I used to have 2 big labs. They passed away a few years back. Now, about a year or 2 ago, we got a new dog. It is a golden doodle. And so I've never done tapping with my pet, but there is tapping that is done for pets. What I would do is I would Google that. I know we have resources within our Tapping Insiders Club, which is a resource. We don't have anything in the app on pets, but yes, tapping can be used on pets. Again, I don't have experience with it, but I know other people that have done tapping to calm down pets. Sometimes that has to do with your energy as well. So one of the things I've noticed as a dog lover over the years is that our dogs tend to take on the energy that we have. I love going through, walking through a park, and I go, yep, that owner, that dog, they match up, right? Like you can see similar energies, because just like kids, dogs pick up on our energy. So a lot of times our dogs can, if we want to help our kids calm down, or if we want to help our pets calm down, we have to first work on ourselves and what we're feeling, right? It's the example of on an airplane. On an airplane, you have to put on your oxygen mask before you put on the oxygen mask of your child. It's the same when it comes to tapping. Do the tapping for yourself first, because your kids model your behavior and they model your energy, because they can feel your energy and they shift depending on what you are experiencing or feeling. So great question there. Let me know, Jillian, if there are any other questions that I can answer. Let's see, Hillary, are all the sessions free for us, or just the ones that say free during the 6 months? All of them are free for you. If you go get the app right now, you'll see that there are ones that are free and there are ones that are locked. If you go to that page, thetappingsolution.com/TuesdaysChildren, you enter in your information, we will unlock the full app for you. It won't happen immediately because it's not set up like that. It'll take a day or 2 because somebody actually has to manually unlock it for you. But yes, the entire app, all of the tapping meditations will be unlocked for you for 6 months. And again, no credit card or anything like that required. You just go in, download the app for free, and then fill in the form on that page, and we will unlock the full app for you so you can get everything in there for free, 100%. And make sure to let us know, what you think of the app after you use it. We have some Facebook groups as well. I know we have one Facebook group with over 20,000 people in there right now for the app. So make sure that you can check out those to see what other people are saying about tapping. You'll be amazed with the results that people get with tapping. I could talk about it all day long, but until you experience it and you hear what other people are saying and the experience they're having, it's kind of a little too good to be true at times in terms of how it works. But go check that out. Join those Facebook groups for free. Just look up the Tapping Solution, and you can read the results that people are having on an everyday basis. You can also go to our homepage, thetappingsolution.com. You'll see the different research studies there. You'll see videos on how to tap. You'll see all sorts of different things. Again, it's a technique that's used by psychologists, therapists, coaches, best-selling authors, all sorts of different people to manage their mental and emotional state on a regular basis. So thank you, Hillary, for that question. Jillian, let me know if there are any other questions that I can answer. Let's see. So if someone is suffering from PTSD and struggles greatly because of lack of resilience, they need to tap twice per day. So here's what I'm going to say about PTSD. I'll tell you, first off, my wife specializes in working with PTSD for sexual trauma. She can do any trauma, but she specializes with sexual trauma. Her website's KarenOrtner.com in case you want to check that out. But I would say that with PTSD that you work with a professional. Okay. The reason for that is that because it can be challenging that when we are being triggered by PTSD, which I would say when we're really being triggered is at level 10 response, like an anxiety attack, that it is that we cannot cognitively work our way through it with the tapping. Doesn't mean if you're being triggered by something that you can't do the tapping or you can't go grab the app and it'll help you, but a professional will help you to work through PTSD a lot faster than you'll be able to do on your own. So I would recommend with PTSD to work with a professional to be able to do that. So last question from Kim. Have you had any experience using tapping with children who have misophonia. I don't even know what that is, to be honest. So I cannot say I have any experience. Doesn't mean that other people do not have experience using tapping for that, because there are so many psychologists, therapists, coaches that use tapping with their clients on a regular basis. I personally do not. I'm unclear as to what that is, and so I don't have experience with that. But if you want to message me, you can find me on Instagram. That's the place I'm most reactive when it comes to direct messages. If you message me on Instagram, I can look it up for you. I can let you know if there are resources out there that can help out with that. But yeah, again, tapping can help calm the brain, improve the immune system response, so it can help support all sorts of different things. One of the sayings that we've had with tapping since the very beginning is try it on everything. It's kind of the saying that's been around since tapping was first developed in the 1980s, is try it on everything. So you have to try it to see, and regardless of what effect it has on that with children, it will affect other aspects of it, which make it easier to deal with what's going on there. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me know. I know, Jillian, you said that was the last question. I'm not sure if Sarah or Jillian or either of you are going to pop back on, but it was really good to be here with all of you. Feel free to reach out. Make sure to go get our Tapping Solution app for free. Unlock it for 6 months. Again, it's our gift to you. No strings attached, no credit card, no nothing like that. But check it out. Use it for yourself. I know it's super helpful and can help to transform your life. And go check out our website and any of the other free resources that we have on there. Hi, Sarah.
Thank you, Alex, so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Just want to remind everyone, thank you. So we'll follow up with a recording of today's feature. Also, we will be sure to share the link with everyone. As Alex mentioned, there's a lot of social media channels, which we will make sure we get to you. We welcome your feedback. We'll send a survey just to get everyone's thoughts, and look forward to seeing everyone at the next webinar. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much. It was good being here with you.